Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive. Today we're, really going deep into the mind of Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah.
We're going to be looking at his meditations, not just like, some ancient emperor's diary, but like his actual thoughts on, how to live a good life.
Right. Yeah.
And, how to handle all the ups and downs.
Absolutely.
And this is something that, even though he was writing, centuries ago, still feels super relevant to us today.
Totally.
So we're diving into book 7, which has a lot about, finding peace.
Yeah.
And figuring out, what it means to live a good life.
Yeah, I mean, it's really fascinating to think that these writings were never even intended to be published.
Right.
This was just his own personal journal.
Wow.
Just like his raw, honest reflections. And yet, here we are centuries later still grappling with these ideas.
Totally. And he jumps right in, like right away in passage 10.
Yeah.
He's talking about how, we're all interconnected. Like parts of a body, uses that word melos, right? Like being part of a whole.
Yeah, yeah.
And not just meros, like a separate part.
Yeah.
So, like, what's the big deal with that distinction for him?
Well, it's about recognizing, I think, that we're all part of something much bigger than ourselves.
Okay.
Think about how our own bodies work. The heart, the lungs, the brain, they all have their own job to do, but they have to function together for the well-being of the whole.
Right.
And Aurelius believed that humanity operates in the same way, that we each have a responsibility to contribute to the well-being of society.
Okay.
Not just, focus on our own individual needs and desires.
So it's about like recognizing that interconnectedness, and realizing that what we do actually impacts the whole.
Exactly.
Which, it makes me think about something else he said about, doing good to thyself when thou dost good unto others.
Yes.
Almost like he's saying that real happiness, it isn't selfish, but it comes from like contributing to something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think that is such a powerful insight. And, it's something that's so relevant even today. I mean, so often we think about happiness as this individual pursuit, like, what can I get for me? But Aurelius is suggesting that true happiness is actually deeply intertwined with our connection to others.
Yeah.
Our contribution to the world around us.
It's like when you go out of your way to help somebody.
Yeah.
It feels good, not just for them, but for you too.
Absolutely. Like, think about that warm feeling you get when you volunteer your time or you lend a helping hand to someone in need. There's a sense of purpose and fulfillment that comes from knowing you've made a positive impact. And that, I think, is a key part of what Aurelius is getting at when he talks about finding happiness through doing good for others.
Yeah, for sure. So, okay, we're all like connected.
Yeah.
And real happiness, it comes from like helping others and contributing to the greater good.
Right.
But like, how does that help us deal with all the tough stuff?
Yeah.
Because, like, let's be real, life can be pretty challenging sometimes.
Right. Right. Aurelius definitely doesn't shy away from the hard parts of life.
No, he doesn't.
And, it actually connects back to this whole idea of interconnectedness.
Okay.
He says that a lot of our struggles actually come from focusing on things that we can't control.
So it's like what he says in passage 11 about how, like, external things, they only have power over us if we let them, right?
Yeah.
But that almost sounds like, just ignore it when bad things happen, which isn't really practical advice, is it?
It's not about ignoring reality, but it's more about shifting our focus. He's not saying that we can always control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond.
Okay.
Like, we actually have a choice in how we interpret those events, and how we allow them to affect us, like deep down inside.
So it's not about like pretending everything's fine when it's not.
Right.
It's more about like how we choose to see the situation.
Exactly.
Like maybe seeing a setback as a chance to learn and grow instead of some kind of disaster.
Exactly. Like recognizing that we actually have more agency than we often realize. We can choose to, dwell on the negative.
Yeah.
Or we can choose to look for the lessons.
Right.
And the opportunities that might be hidden within those, seemingly challenging situations.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And that reminds me of something else he said that really kind of like threw me for a loop.
Yeah.
It's in passage 13. And he says that the mind does not bring trouble upon itself. I mean, what does that even mean? What is he talking about when he says that our mind is like sufficient unto itself.
Well, it's this really powerful idea that we have this inherent capacity, like deep down inside of us,
Of course.
to find peace and stability, regardless of what's happening externally. Our minds are incredibly powerful tools, right? And we can use them to cultivate this sense of inner calm, you know?
Right.
Or we can use them to amplify our anxieties and our fears.
So like if we're always stressed out, it might not be like the things themselves. It's like our reaction to them, that's the real problem.
Exactly. We do this thing where we create our own suffering, you know, by like clinging to the things that we can't control.
Yeah.
Or by letting these external events just like totally dictate our inner state. And Aurelius is like challenging us to break free from that cycle.
Right.
To recognize that our own minds have this power to find peace even in the middle of all the chaos.
So it's like we've got this inner sanctuary
Yeah.
that we can always access no matter what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a pretty nice thought.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling it takes like a lot of practice to actually like get there.
Oh, absolutely. It's not easy. And Aurelius himself actually acknowledges that, you know, it's an ongoing process of self-reflection and cultivation.
Okay, so we talk about finding that like inner peace even when things are tough.
Yeah.
But what about like happiness in general? How does Aurelius like define what it actually means to be happy?
Well, he definitely doesn't shy away from those big questions, does he?
No, he doesn't.
And in passage 14, he really gets into it, you know, asks straight up, what is happiness?
Right.
And his answer might surprise you.
Okay.
He says it's not about like what you achieve in the world or like the stuff you have.
Okay.
It's about cultivating something inside yourself.
Okay.
He uses this phrase, good demon.
Yeah, what's that all about? I mean, it sounds kind of mysterious.
It does sound a little cryptic, right?
Yeah.
But think about it like that inner voice, you know, we all have.
Okay.
That voice that's like guiding us, like even when it's hard, towards what feels right.
Okay, yeah.
That's the good demon he's talking
So
about.
it's that part of us that just like knows what's right and good.
It's like our conscience, you know?
Okay.
Our internal compass.
So it's about like aligning ourselves with that.
Exactly.
Instead of always looking for like validation from outside or, you know, chasing after like money and stuff.
Yeah, and it goes back to what we were talking about our minds being sufficient unto themselves.
Okay, yeah.
If we can tap into that inner source of contentment, then all that external stuff has way less power over us.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's probably a good thing because, like he says in passage 15, change is constant.
Yeah.
Like it's always happening. He even says it's pleasing and familiar to the nature of the universe.
Yeah.
Like he's not just saying like, oh, deal with it. He's saying like, embrace it.
Yeah, yeah.
Why do you think he's so into change?
Because like fighting against the flow of life, it only makes us suffer more, you know?
Yeah.
By accepting that change is just like a fundamental part of life, we can approach it with less fear,
Okay.
less resistance. Instead of always like clinging to how things used to be,
Right.
we can adapt, find a sense of stability within ourselves.
So we're not getting like knocked around by all the changes,
Or
but
you-
building up that inner strength.
It's like, imagine you're on a ship in a storm, right?
Okay.
If you're like standing there all stiff, you're gonna get knocked over.
Yeah, for sure.
But if you know, get your sea legs and move with the waves, you can handle it.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's that resilience Aurelius is talking about.
So instead of change, like rocking our world, we're building up that like inner stability
Beautifully put.
that helps us like ride the waves.
Aurelius actually uses this really great analogy of a hot bath.
Okay.
You know, just like the fire needs wood to stay hot.
Yeah.
Change is like the fuel for our growth.
Okay.
It can be uncomfortable,
Yeah.
even painful sometimes, but it's also what keeps us moving forward.
Wow. That's a really great way to think about it.
Yeah.
So we've covered a lot in this deep dive into Aurelius. We've learned that we actually have more control over our inner world than we think.
Yeah.
That true happiness is something we cultivate from within.
Yeah.
And that change is just a natural and even an essential part of life.
It's really amazing how relevant his insights still are, you know, all these centuries later.
It really is.
Like he's right here with us, you know, challenging us to really take control of our inner lives.
Yeah.
And to find that peace and purpose from within.
Yeah. He really does challenge us.
Yeah.
Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into Marcus Aurelius and Book 7 of Meditations.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Marcus Aurelius, he ruled with grace. Stoic With a calm that was fire, man was born to reform. He said, mind your kingdom, so take the throne. Inner peace, that's where seeds are sown. When life's heavy, don't be rattled. Keep your crew steady, never be battled. Marcus, Stoic and blind, he knew the rhythm, kept it locked in time. Yeah, Marcus, philosophizing the funk of life. He's wise in disguise. Oh yeah, in the heart of Rome, he kept his flow. Through wars and trials, he'd never fold. No way. With thoughts like gold and soul so deep, a funky emperor in wisdom he'd steep. Life's a dance, he often say. Step by step, don't give it away. When chaos comes, take it in stride. Morals gliding on that funky ride. From the palace to the streets, his wisdom spread. Stoic vibes in every word he said. Oh yeah. Keep your inner peace, don't let it stray. Marcus grew the ancient Roman way. In the funk of life, he's wise in disguise. Oh yeah.
My self-pity. I choose to listen to the voice from within versus the voices from without. I choose to fulfill my destiny. I choose to get the job done. I choose to finish what I started. No fear, no hesitation, no surprise, no doubt. Free yourself from the debilitating disease of fear. It has manipulated you long enough. It has tranquilized your faith. The fear of inadequacy, the fear of uncertainty, the fear of failure, the fear of not finishing, the fear of rejection, the fear of missing out, the fear of change, the fear of losing control, the fear of being judged, the fear of not being liked, the fear of something bad or traumatic happening, fear of getting hurt. Many of these fears have left us in a state of paralysis, unable to move forward, unable to achieve. The time is now. Once you conquer fear with faith and love, there will be no hesitation. There will be no surprises, and there will be no doubt. In the face of adversity, you will be certain that in the end, you will. Anyone can give up. It's the easiest thing in the world to do. But to hold it together whenever.
Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. Problems cannot be solved with the same level of thinking that created them.
Alea jacta est, the die is cast. Julius Caesar.
Forget what hurts you, but never forget what it taught you. Life is inherently risky. There is only one big risk you should avoid at all costs, and that is the risk of doing nothing.
For things to reveal themselves to us, we need to be ready to abandon our views about them. Thich Nhat Hanh.
Did you not lately contend with me and say that you are free, but Aprula has hindered me? Tell the truth then, slave, and do not run away from your masters, nor deny nor venture to produce anyone to assert your freedom, when you have so many evidences of your slavery. And indeed, when a man is compelled by love to do something contrary to his opinion, and at the same time sees the better but has not the strength to follow it, one might consider him still more worthy of excuse as being held by a certain violent and, in a manner, a divine power. But who could endure you who are in love with old women and old men, and wipe the old women's noses, and wash them and give them presents, and also wait on them like a slave when they are sick, and at the same time wish them dead, and question the physicians whether they are sick unto death? And again, when in order to obtain these great and much admired magistracies and honors, you kiss the hands of these slaves of others, and so you are not the slave even of free men, then you walk about before me in stately fashion, praetor or a consul. Do I not know how you became a praetor? By what means you got your consulship? Who gave it to you? I would not even choose to live, if I must live by help of Felicion and endure his arrogance and servile insolence. For I know what a slave is, who is fortunate, as he thinks, and puffed up by pride. You then, a man may say, are you free? I wish by the gods and pray to be free, but I am not yet able to face my masters. I still value my poor body. I value greatly the preservation of it entire, though I do not possess it entire. But I can point out to you a free man, that you may no longer seek an example. Diogenes was free. How was he free? Not because he was born of free parents, but because he was himself free, because he had cast off all the handles of slavery, and it was not possible for any man to approach him, nor had any man the means of laying hold of him to enslave him. He had everything easily loosed, everything only hanging to him. If you laid hold of his property, he would rather have let it go and be yours than he would have followed you for it. If you had laid hold of his leg, he would have let go his leg. If of all his body, all his poor body, his intimates, friends, country, just the same. For he knew from whence he had them, and from whom, and on what conditions. His true parents indeed, the gods, and his real country he would never have deserted, nor would he have yielded to any man in obedience to them or to their orders, nor would any man have died for his country more readily, for he was not used to inquire when he should be considered to have done anything on behalf of the whole of things. But he remembered that everything which is done comes from thence, and is done on behalf of that country, and is commanded by him who administers it. Therefore, see what Diogenes himself says and writes. For this reason, he says, Diogenes, it is in your power to speak both with the king of the Persians and with Archidamus, the king of the Lacedaemonians, as you please. Was it because he was born of free parents? I suppose all the Athenians and all the Lacedaemonians, because they were born of slaves, could not talk with them as they wished, but feared and paid court to them. Why then does he say that it is in his power? Because I do not consider the poor body to be my own, because I want nothing, because law is everything to me and nothing else is. These were the things which permitted him to be free, and that you may not think that I show you the example of a man who is a solitary person, who has neither wife nor children, nor country, nor friends, nor kinsmen, by whom he could be bent and drawn in various directions. Take Socrates and observe that he had a wife and children, but he did not consider them as his own, that he had a country, so long as it was fit to have one, and in such a manner as was fit. Friends and kinsmen also, but he held all in subjection to law and to the obedience due to it. For this reason he was the first to go out as a soldier, when it was necessary, and in war he exposed himself to danger most unsparingly. And when he was sent by the tyrants to seize Leon, he did not even deliberate about the matter, because he thought that it was a base action, and he knew that he must die if it so happened. And what difference did that make to him? For he intended to preserve something else, not his poor flesh, but his fidelity, his honorable character. These are things which could not be assailed nor brought into subjection. Then, when he was obliged to speak in defense of his life, did he behave like a man who had children, who had a wife? No, but he behaved like a man who has neither. And what did he do when he was to drink the poison, and when he had the power of escaping from prison, and when Crito said to him, "Escape for the sake of your children"? What did Socrates say? Did he consider the power of escape as an unexpected gain? By no means. He considered what was fit and proper. But the rest he did not even look at or take into the reckoning. For he did not choose, he said, to save his poor body, but to save that which is increased and saved by doing what is just, and is impaired and destroyed by doing what is unjust. Socrates will not save his life by a base act. He who would not put the Athenians to the vote, when they clamored that he should do so. He who refused to obey the tyrants. He who discoursed in such a manner about virtue and right behavior,